Hello, welcome to this month's group healing session, closing emotional cycles of this year. So, for many people, it could have been a heavy year with emotions, relationships, and this session is to support you with closing all that has been blocked. So, I invite you to sit comfortably, close your eyes. Take few deep breaths and scan your body for how this year feels to you emotionally. Is there a particular emotion, a relationship, a conflict, a situation that has left you feeling raw, unfinished business? Or some emotional scarring. So, in your mind's eye, if you could witness this relationship and feel it in your body, put it on the scale 0 to 5, how heavy or disturbing it feels to you. Or if there is a relationship, dispute, situation, something in this year that has been unresolved for you. So take a moment to tune in and scan energetically how you're feeling with this particular relationship, conflict, situation, or anything that has happened and you feel it's still lingering and energetically blocking you. It could be 1, 2, or 3 things. Whatever it is, just scan it energetically and see where would you put this discomfort, pain, block on the scale 0 to 5. And just keep your awareness there. And now we will dive into this monthly group healing session to support you with closing the emotional loops and baggages of this year. So all you need to do is sit comfortably and just listen to this group healing session. So I'm tuning energetically in your blueprint to pick up the priorities for this healing session. So as I'm scanning the energy blueprint, first thing that draws my attention is the spinal cord. And on the spinal cord, I'm witnessing sort of a rash or a raw wound. And this feels like it's been the emotional stressor. So I want you to focus on 3 things of this year that come to your mind when we talk about tough relationships or difficult situation or a conflict. And we are working with the first one. So the first emotional stressor that you've highlighted in your mind. What I'm tuning into is in the spine and spinal cord, which feels raw, scratched, the myelin sheath of the neurons and the brainstem. Myelin sheath is the connective tissue that feels inflamed. So firstly, we are working with this treatment called cortices, which is brain balancing, which is optimizing the left and right hemisphere of the brain, which has basically become disoriented in a state of shock, and these centers of the brain are not communicating well, which means the brain is not functioning holistic as a whole brain. So firstly, we are doing this treatment called cortices to balance the brain energetically and emotionally. So I'm starting from the base of the head and I'm covering the whole midline of the head, balancing the left and right hemisphere. So I want you to just take a few deep breaths as I'm working through this treatment. if you are sensitive to energy, you may feel shifts, certain tingling, shift of energy. And I'm addressing certain cold spots, which are the spots with poor circulation and disconnect due to emotional trauma. And now we are balancing the limbic brain, the emotional brain. So just a few more deep breaths to integrate this left and right hemisphere balancing. And now that the two hemispheres of the brain are communicating well, we are focusing on the spinal cord and the myelin sheath, where these emotions feel quite raw. So firstly, I'm setting up a filter on your prefrontal cortex, which is like a supercomputer of your brain. And we are putting the first trigger, which is the first stressor that you've highlighted. And the prefrontal cortex would track back and look for all the memories with active emotional charges in this particular relationship, specifically through this year. So each and every small incident, conversation, comment that triggered the nervous system into survival mode and triggered those emotions, which would be anger, fear, grief. So with this treatment, we are setting up a program for your prefrontal cortex to access all those memories that are stored in the connective tissue, in your myofascia, with active charges, active emotional charges, which means where the emotions are not synthesized and processed. So this treatment called active memory is like setting up a filter where your computing power, which is your prefrontal cortex, would sort of pull out all those files of emotional trauma and memory, surface it, disassociate it, and synthesize and release it. And we are running this treatment, active memory, through the amygdala complex in the nervous system, which is all about survival mode. As well as we are processing this treatment through the heart brain, which deals with all relationships and relatedness, as well as through the water molecules, where we store the emotions. And once your body has processed all these emotions, they would be released through the diaphragm into the intestines, so your body can process it. And thereafter, I'm running this treatment called hydration, and this is cellular hydration to the spinal cord, to the myelin sheath of the brainstem, which is the fatty tissue around the neurons of the central nervous system. And we are focusing on cellular hydration with easy water. Easy water is called structured water, H3O2. And this is again for synthesizing emotions and supporting the healing. And as we are working on this, I see this raw wound on the spinal cord sort of transforming into healthier, energetic flow. And now we are working with the second stressor conflict that you have highlighted in your mind. And I want you to mentally think or tune into it. And this one is impacting your lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system is like a sewage system of our body. It is tied in with the consciousness of self-worth and feeling clean. So detoxification. And now with this treatment, while we are focusing on the second stressor that you had highlighted for this year, we are working through your lymphatic system. I'm addressing the lymph nodes around the neck, chest, axilla, which is under our diaphragm, gut, and groins. And we are focusing on optimizing circulation through this lymphatic system, circulation and hydration. So the lymphatic system is 90% water and all the toxins. So with this focus of hydration and circulation to the lymphatic system, we are releasing all the emotional charges that are residual and that are impacting you. As well as I'm working through the spleen and the mastus, which is the muscle, zygoma, which is the cheekbone. We are working through optimizing the lymphatic drainage and neutralizing all the emotional charges through this treatment. And somehow the consciousness of forgiveness is coming through. As well as I'm tuning into emotion of grief. So we're looking at optimizing the lung and colon, which is the yin and yang of the metal element, for processing grief. As well as we're working with central medial part of thalami for processing grief and for centering and anchoring you into the present moment. Okay, now we are working with the third priority that you highlighted in your mind in terms of stress and emotional trauma for this year, 2025. And I'm scanning your energy blueprint. And what's showing up as a priority is the right adrenal. So adrenals are our endocrine system that produces stress hormone. And we are looking at this heightened cortisol level, which is high stress hormone, which is overstimulated for a long time, which in turn has depleted the adrenal. So we are working with the nervous system, amygdala complex, into this heightened fight, flight, survival mode. We are working at balancing hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal axis for this overstimulation of stress hormone. And it looks like this third stressor has directly depleted your kidney adrenal complex. Kidney is all about willpower versus fear. So it has depleted your willpower, amplified fear, and specifically depleted the adrenal chi by overstimulating cortisol levels. So now we are working with fragmenting the mind crystal that has formed with this third stressor of your life. The theme here is strongly anger. So we are fragmenting some mind crystals that are sort of holding the energy of anger, resentment, frustrations. So I'm running a treatment called CDRE, which is optimizing the circulation, defrag, addressing all those emotions of anger, fragmenting the mind crystal, reevaluating, recontextualization, integration, and introspection to the heart. So we are addressing the emotions, the stress, and thereafter we are addressing, repairing, and healing the right adrenal. So I'm working with lower dantian point, which is bladder 23 acupuncture point, governing vessel 4, conceptional vessel 6, and this is to repair and heal the kidney adrenal complex for adrenal fatigue. As well as we're looking at optimizing hydration and circulation again. Then we're also working with rewiring the amygdala complex. So I'm picking up a little bit of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, which means when your nervous system is under stress, it's hijacked into this fight, flight, survival mode, which is contributing to the depleted adrenals. But even when the stressor has passed, the nervous system hasn't reoriented itself to the safer environment. So we are looking at rewiring the amygdala complex out of this fight, flight, survival mode, which means heightened cortisol level and hypersensitivity to HPA, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal, which is short-circuiting into stress hormones. And we are rewiring it to the tend and befriend mode, which is another loop in the nervous system where we have increased dopamine and serotonin production as a response of the stimulus. So we are looking at rewiring the nervous system out of the fight and flight survival mode into tend and befriend mode, optimizing the receptors of dopamine and oxytocin in the amygdala complex and the brainstem. And now we are also working with balancing the yin and yang, which is also represented by pineal and pituitary gland. So balancing the pineal and pituitary, hypothalamus and thalamus, which represents the sun and moon, and balancing the whole left and right side of the body. So reorienting and realigning the whole of the musculoskeletal alignment. So psychology and physiology is intertwined. When the emotions are stored and the stress is stored in the connective tissue, it affects the posture. So once we have rewired the nervous system, we have worked with the lymphatic system, we are working on now realigning the musculoskeletal alignment, which is some postural correction treatments, and clearing the emotions that are stuck into the connective tissue. As well as we're looking at optimizing the base chakra for stronger grounding. So feeling stable, secure, rooted, anchored, as well as draining out all those emotional charges that we have worked on in this session today through the base chakra and the minor chakra of the feet into the earth element to neutralize all those emotional charges and strengthening that consciousness of feeling supported, rooted, grounded, and bringing in electron circulation through the earth to neutralize excessive free radicals. Okay, so now I want you to take a few deep breaths as I'm working on integrating this session through activating the head, heart, and gut brain. If you like, you can go ahead and gently tap your head, heart, and gut. Alternatively, you can simply listen to my voice while I'm working on programming this treatment to support you. So, few deep breaths. To integrate this session. Your body would be processing this treatment for a week, 10 days. Drink more water, that will support you. Check out Cortes's technique, which is brain balancing. Do that for everyday basis on yourself. And now, take a moment again to close your eyes and scan your body for those stresses, the 3 stresses that you focused on. The first one, which was a relationship. And just experience how you feel it in your body, the intensity of the emotional stress, if it is still there, and where would you put it on 0 to 5 scale. And now the second stressor, you're energetically scanning it and see if it has got lighter, better. And the third one. And now just scanning and witnessing on the scale 0 to 5 how these 3 stresses feel to you in this moment. If you like, you can note it down. And in a week, 10 days time, you can again scan for all the 3 stresses and see if that has shifted for you. So I hope this session helps you. And you end this year by closing all those unfinished emotional loops. Thank you, and have an excellent year ahead. Bye-bye.